want to tell you about a man named Thomas. 64 years old, spent his 50s building carefully, a business owner and provider. He did everything right on paper. He had $840,000 in the bank. He was on track for seven figures by the time he retired. But at 65, Thomas had a cardiac event. Recovery cost him $190,000. 2 years of his productivity. And when he finally sat back down and pulled up his accounts, he didn't have $1.1 million. He had $620,000. He had paid nearly $500,000 for a decision he'd been making every single day for 20 years. The decision was to ignore his body. Here's what no one tells high-achieving men over 45. That medical event at 65 is not random. It's his bill. It's the receipt for 2 decades of small decisions that added up. That extra glass of bourbon after he closed that deal, the skipped annual physical, the I'll get to the gym next quarter, knowing you feel like hell and telling yourself you'll deal with it after the next launch, after the next raise, after the kids are through college. You built your career at the expense of your biology. I know because I did the exact same thing. I was pushing 300 pounds, successful on paper, building businesses, providing for my family, winning the game everyone told me to play. And every single day my body was sending me a bill I kept refusing to open. Now I'm approaching 50 now and I'm under 10% body fat at the moment. Not because I found some magical protocol, but because I finally understood something most men never do, usually until it's too late. Poor health is the single most expensive liability a successful man over 45 can carry on his balance sheet. Not because the medical bills are expensive, though they are, but because poor health does 3 things that no amount of professional success can compensate for. First, it reduces the number of productive years you have left. The man who dies at 71 of a preventable condition didn't lose 5 years of retirement. He lost 20 years of compounded impact on his family, his legacy, his grandchildren, the people who need him to still be there in the room. Second, it degrades the one asset nothing else runs without, your cognitive capacity. The fog you feel at 3 p.m. after lunch, that isn't normal. That's your brain operating at 60% of what it could be. And you're making 7-figure decisions on that depleted system and wondering why the quality of your thinking has dropped. Third, it creates financial pressure at the worst possible time. Men who stay healthy retire on their own terms. Men who don't get forced to liquidate investments, cash out too early, and accept whatever version of retirement their medical bills allow. Your body is the machine that built everything else. Every dollar you've earned, every deal you've closed, every moment you've been present for your wife or your kids, the machine produced all of it. The maintenance cost of keeping that machine running well is the cheapest investment you will ever make. Now here's what makes this so dangerous. When you're 47, 52, 55, whatever, you feel fine, not great, but fine. You push through the meetings, you close the deal, you show up, your body hasn't failed you yet, and you've built an entire identity around the man who pushes through, who outworks, who doesn't need to rest. That identity was an asset at 32. At 52, it's a liability. The machine has been running on the same fuel for 20 more years with 20 more years of mileage, and you're still asking it to perform the same way it did in your 30s without the maintenance it needed in your 40s? Your testosterone is not what it was. Your insulin sensitivity is not what it was. Your mitochondrial function, your sleep architecture, your recovery windows, none of it is what it was. And nobody told you because the conventional medicine system doesn't pay attention until you're actively sick. You don't go to a doctor to optimize. You go to a doctor to not die. Those are 2 completely different objectives. And the gap between them is where your best years are quietly disappearing. I've sat across from men in their late 50s and early 60s who looked at me and said, "Jason, I wish I'd started this 10 years ago." Every single one of them could have afforded it 10 years ago. They didn't wait because of money. They waited because they didn't feel sick yet. And not sick felt like good enough at the moment, right? Not sick is not the same as optimized. Not sick is not the same as thriving. Not sick is just the last stop before sick. Now here's the part nobody wants to hear. The decisions you make in the next 3 to 5 years about how you treat your body determine what the next 20 look like. That's not motivation, that's physiology. Muscle mass, bone density, architecture, metabolic flexibility. These are either being built or being lost every day. And after a certain point, they cannot be built at the same rate that they were lost. The man who starts at 50 has a dramatically different 70 than the man who starts at 58. And the man who never starts at all gets whatever his body decides to give him. Now, I'm a man of faith, and I'll tell you something that changed how I think about all of this. Your body is not yours. It was given to you. The career, the income, the influence, the family you're providing for, none of that works if the vessel breaks down. And when you ignore that vessel for 20 years because the work is urgent and the gym isn't, you're not being a hardworking provider. You're being a bad steward of what was entrusted to you. Stewardship means you take care of what was given to you so it can serve its purpose longer. And your purpose, whatever you believe it to be, does not get served by a man who dies at 68 or spends his 70s in doctor's offices instead of with his grandchildren. The most generous, most responsible, most disciplined thing a high-achieving man over 45 can do right now is to stop treating his body as infrastructure he can run into the ground and start treating it as an asset that makes everything else possible. This is why I built Thesis Health. I work with men who've realized that the next 30 years requires something different than the last 30 did. We don't do fluff. We don't do lifestyle advice. We don't hand you a meal plan and a motivational video and wish you luck. We do biological optimization, real lab work, real hormone panels, real metabolic assessments, peptides when they're appropriate, done correctly, alongside licensed medical professionals. Nutrition built around your actual chemistry, not a magazine article. Training protocols that account for the fact that you're 52, not 22. Coaching from people who have lived this transformation themselves and that understand the pressure you're operating under. Because we've been there. This is for the man who built something, who has capacity, who doesn't need another self-help program. He needs a system built for men whose mistake was being too successful at the wrong game for too long. I only take on a limited number of clients because the work is done right or it isn't done at all. If something in this video hit hard, that isn't a coincidence. That's your body telling you that the bill is coming due. The question is whether you want to keep paying interest on it or pay the principal down now while you still have the runway. You spent the first half of your life building something worth protecting. Don't lose access to it in the second half because you couldn't be bothered to protect the one thing that built all of it. If you're ready, the link is below. We'll talk and we'll look at where you actually are and we'll figure out if it's a good fit. Your body is the machine that built everything. Start treating it like it matters.